Hello again everyone, welcome back to Skyblock News. I'm your host Derailious, and today we're going to be going over the Backwater Bayou, the next update in Hypixel Skyblock, which is a dedicated fishing island. I know, I was wrong. Feel free to get your copes out in the comments down below. But as you can see, it is going to be a major piece of content, so we're going to be going over it. But before we begin, I just want to say, please make sure to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out a lot. And use code RAIL on the Hypixel store for 5% off your order. Trust me, I'm going to need it after messing this one up. We will be hopping in game in just a moment, but for now I want to go over some of the features listed here as part of the alpha forum post. Notably, this does include an island with a bunch of early and endgame fishing content alike. However, it's more heavily skewed on the new fishing experience. It requires fishing level 5 to enter, and here's a non-exhaustive list of everything in the update, including a new ship system, a treasure revamp, which actually looks pretty interesting, junk fishing, rod parts, which is pretty similar to the drill parts system, fishing hotspots, and 14 new sea creatures, 6 exclusive to the bayou, 4 exclusive to water hotspots, and 4 exclusive to lava hotspots. These sea creature unlock levels range all the way from fishing 5 to 47. There is also an alpha checklist for this update, and completing it will earn you an exclusive memento, so make sure you get your hands on that. Starting off here, you're going to want to head to the right side of this bridge right here. You're going to speak to fisherwoman Enid and start her quest. Basically, you're going to catch a fish, and then she's going to tell you to head over by the fishing outpost. The fishing outpost, by the way, is a very beautiful area that has a bunch of new additions. We're not going to go over them too deeply, but for now just know that you can go to the fishing merchant, and if you're relatively new, you can pick up angler armor as well as angler equipment, which is pretty nice. But for now, we're going to head over by the boat, which is located at the edge of the island. You can also see Gavin right here, and you're going to speak to Fisherman Gerald, as well as the Captain Baja. Once you do both of those things, you're going to have to fish for the rusty engine, which is not going to be that hard to get. You're just going to fish right here. You're going to get the rusty ship engine, and then you're going to apply it to Baja. It's going to be right here. Once you do that, you'll be able to name your ship pretty much whatever you want, and you'll gain access to the ship navigator, and you'll be able to go to the Backwater Bayou. Once you head to the bayou, you'll notice that it's a pretty interesting little location. It's a new island, and it's a new fishing island. There's a bunch of stuff here to do, so let's get started. Starting off by heading over to the right side, we can see Junker Joel. When you right-click on him, you can see that he has a shop. What you're basically going to do on this island is collect a bunch of junk, and then you're going to bring it back to Joel and transmit it into this material, which allows you to get pretty much whatever you want, including a new armor set, a new equipment line, a new accessory line, a new challenging rod, and some other additional items that you may be interested in, as well as a new pet. For now though, all you need to know is that the junk sinker is what's relevant for you, and your quest may direct you to head over to Roddy, who's currently up on this hill. This is the new mechanic here. Basically how this works is you're able to take any rod, you can put it in here, and there are 3 parts you can apply to the rod: a hook, a line, and a sinker. You can see what these new items are over in the rod part guide. You can see the hooks, the lines, and the sinkers. For now, we're going to go in depth about pretty much every single one of them. Starting off with the hooks, hooks make you more likely to catch certain things. So if I click on the phantom hook, for example, it increases the chance of me catching spooky sea creatures by 100%. There's also the Oasis hook, which does the same for Oasis sea creatures, the common hook for common sea creatures, and the hotspot hook for hotspot sea creatures. 3 of these are craftable: the hotspot hook, the common hook, and the Oasis hook. And the last one, the phantom hook, can be found with the spooky sea creature, as you can see here, the Phantom Fisher, which drops the phantom hook. The recipes for the other 3 hooks aren't too bad, with the common hook just being an enchanted raw fish and a couple enchanted lily pads, the hotspot hook being a little more complicated with some fireproof witch drops as well as the broken radars, and the enchanted lily pads as well, which by the way both of these are drops from other sea creatures. And finally, the Oasis hook is pretty simple as well, just being a couple pieces of enchanted wheat and some enchanted clay. Next up, we have lines, which grant you stat bonuses pretty much everywhere. There's the Titan line, the Speedy line, and the Shredded line. Now this one's a little bit interesting. A lot of fishing rods have been depreciated as part of this update, including all of the ones that you can see on screen now. When you depreciate a rod, you basically have to bring it to Roddy and it'll be converted into a challenging rod. And as you can see, I converted my shredder and I got the shredded line for free as part of that conversion. I don't really know how this operates for many of the other rods in the game, but that's at least how I got the shredded line. Only one of these is actually craftable, by the way. If I do recipe line, it's only the Titan line, which is a bunch of rusty coins, a Bayou water orb, and a Titanoboa shed, which a Titanoboa is another mob related to the, fishing event. For the last line, the Speedy line, you can purchase this here at the Junker Joel shop, which costs 8 busted belt buckles. Now these items are basically rare drops that you can get from treasure fishing within the bayou. We'll go over that in a moment. This is related to the junk sinker. For now, all you need to know is that you get it in the shop. Same thing with the stingy sinker. Speaking of sinkers, we have sinkers right here. They give your rod special abilities. Starting off with the one that you probably know the most about, it's the Junk Sinker. This is what you get as part of the quest when you're starting off here at the bayou. It grants you 10's treasure chance while in the Backwater Bayou, and all treasure found while fishing with this rod part is replaced with junk. Junk like, for example, the rusty coins that we were talking about a bit ago. There's also the Prismarine Sinker, which materializes prismarine shards or crystals in your inventory whenever you catch something. Same thing goes for the Icy Sinker here, but it also increases the chance of catching winter sea creatures by 200%. There's the Festive Sinker, which gets you a small chance to get gifts, which is pretty cool. There's the Sponge Sinker, same thing, but for sponge. Stingy, which is the one that you saw at the shop over there, which grants you a 10% chance not to consume bait. There's the Hotspot Sinker, which increases the bonuses of fishing hotspots by 100%, and the Chum Sinker, which materializes chum in your inventory whenever you catch something. Many of these are earnable by just crafting them, but many of them are also earnable by sea creatures or other methods. Only 3 of them are craftable, as you can see here. Sponge, which isn't too bad. Hotspot, which is a little bit more crazy. And then there's the Prismarine one, which also isn't too bad. So, for example, I have a rod right here, the Rod of the Sea, and I have the Junk Sinker on the rod. So when I toss it into that hotspot right there that has a bonus of treasure chance, there's a decent shot that I get one of the treasure pieces. But because I have the Junk Sinker on this rod, I'm not going to get treasure. Instead, I'm going to get junk. It basically replaces the loot pool. Also, the treasure loot pool has been split into 3 tiers. There's good, there's great, and there's outstanding. So that is basically how things operate here, and those 3 tiers correlate to different items that you get in terms of junk. The rusty coins are the good variant here. It's relatively easy to get a bunch of them. They drop fairly often. I got a ton of them very, very early on, and they're just not too bad to get. But 2 other items are a little bit more uncommon. I believe that's the boot and the busted fishing whatever item. The busted belt buckle, as you can see here. It actually came into my inventory at the perfect time. But you get the idea. You're going to be doing a lot of treasure fishing here. You're going to use the junk sort of sinker on this item in order to actually get these rarer drops or these junk drops. And then you can use that junk to bring it over to Junker Joel. And now we can finally go over the Junker Joel shop. So now that we're looking at the shop, I know that was a lot of talk just to get here, but let's keep going. We have Treasure Bait, which is for the Rusty Coin. It grants you 10 fishing speed and 2 treasure chance. There's the Challenging Rod, which is a fishing rod and 16 rusty coins. There's the Backwater Helmet, chestplate, leggings, and boots, as well as the necklace, the cloak, the belt, and the gloves. This has a pretty interesting tiered bonus, as you can see, which increases the damage dealt to sea creatures by 5%, and that obviously scales up. And the overall drops aren't too expensive. It's just a few rusty coins. You could probably get this in an hour of decent gameplay, maybe even less. Next up, we have the Junk Talisman, as well as the Junk Ring and the Junk Artifact. Pretty good line of upgrades here, but once again, you're going to need the Busted Belt Buckles, which are a bit rarer, and the Old Leather Boot, which is even rarer than that, most likely. So that'll get you the max tier of this accessory, and at 7.5% treasure chance while on the Backwater Bayou. Next up, we have the Hermit Crab, as you can see right here. At the base level, it gives you defense, fishing speed, and sea creature chance, and it also has the perk Comfort Zone, which grants you 20 fishing speed for 30 seconds upon catching treasure at level 100. We'll go over the upgrade to this pet in a moment, but for now we'll continue. There's the Stingy Sinker, which we already talked about, as well as the Speedy line. Keep in mind, though, that the speedy line is gotten through the busted belt buckles and not the rusty coins. Then we have the bronze ship engine, which we'll go over in a moment, but for now all you need to know is that when you get this item, you can bring it to Baja, and it grants you 0.5 fishing wisdom when attached to your ship. And then there's the gold bottle cap, which upgrades luck of the seas level by 1. This one's pretty expensive. This is kind of the rare, expensive item that maybe you'll want if you have a lot of these materials. And finally, we have the travel scroll to the bayou itself, which is 8 busted belt buckles. The other 2 ship parts, by the way, you can see the recipes for them here. The helm is basically a bunch of bronze bowls as well as dark oak wood. And then the bronze ship hull is a bunch of torn cloth as well as a bunch of bronze bowls. Once again, you get these items through fishing, through either sea creatures, through participating here. It's not too bad, all things considered, and you can find these items in the sea creature guide for the bayou. For example, you can see that the can of worms is a drop from the trash gobbler, the bronze bowl is a drop from the dumpster diver, and so on and so forth. The banshees drop the torn cloth. Moving right along to the next relevant area, we have Hattie, who is the basically owner or controller or whatever of the hotspots. She knows a lot about them, etc. Basically, what she'll tell you is that there are hotspots here, in the hub, and in the Crimson Isle. And in those hotspots, you can get a bunch of bonus sea creatures, as well as a general bonus for using the hotspot. As you can see, this one grants you 5 sea creature chance, and people are using this not just because of that sea creature chance, but because many of the new sea creatures in this update can only be found by actually using the hotspots for both water and lava fishing. So, for example, looking at the sea creature guide, in terms of hotspot only creatures, we have Frogman, the snapping turtle, we have Fried Chicken, which is the lava fishing hotspot mob, we have the Fireproof Witch, which is another lava fishing hotspot mob. We have the Blue Ringed Octopus, which is at fishing level 35. This is a water fishing hotspot mob in the Backwater Bayou. There's the Fiery Scuttler, which is a level 37 mob, once again lava, and it's a fishing hotspot on the Crimson Isle. There's the Wiki Tiki, which is at level 40, a water fishing hotspot mob in the Backwater Bayou. And then finally Ragnarok, which is level 47, lava fishing hotspot in the Crimson Isle. I know that was a lot to go over, but we're going to go over all of their items too, so there's a lot to talk about here. In terms of some of the other additions you can see in the bayou itself, there are a few other mobs. Frogman we already talked about, the Trash Gobbler, the Dumpster Diver, Banshee, Snapping Turtle, Bayou Sludge, Alligator, and Titano Boa, Blue Ringed Octopus, and finally the Wiki Tiki. In terms of the rest of the additions from this update, you can refer to Centauri's featured update items if you want to see pretty much everything going on, and there's a lot here. Starting off, we have all of the hooks, the lines, and the sinkers that we already talked about. We also have the can of worms. This is an item that can drop from one of the sea creatures, which just gives you a random little drop. This can range from certain types of bait to even fishing XP if you wanted it. There's also a bunch of other items here. The bronze bowls, like we were already talking about, the overflowing trash can, which gives you a reforge when combined with a fishing rod. I kind of already put it on my rod of the sea. It's nothing too crazy. It's sea creature chance, fishing speed, and treasure chance, but it does seem pretty nice. Top of that, there's also the torn cloth, the calcified heart, which you can combine with armor. It's once again nothing too crazy. I'll just try to apply it to something real quick. Like, for example, I don't know, these slug boots. If I head over to it over here, it gives you defense and fishing speed as well as defense against sea creatures. Once again, nothing too crazy, just a nice little upgrade. Moving right along, we have the alligator skin, which just can be used to make new things. If I head over here, you can see that you can convert it into quick bite, which makes fish swim 5% faster towards your bobber. Something pretty neat. You can also use it to make the bayou water orb, which is, once again, relevant and important. Moving right along once more, you have the Titano Boa Shed, the Half-Eaten Mushroom, which is the mushroom equivalent of the Carolyn items. We have the Broken Radar, which we already kind of covered. Edible Seaweed, which is a pet item, which grants you 10 fishing speed. The Blue Ring, which is pretty interesting here. The Octopus Tendril, which upgrades Spiked Hook by 1. The Tiki Mask, which gives you 2 sea creature chance, 300 health, and 100 defense, which grants you buffs when fishing in a fishing hotspot. And they actually look like pretty solid buffs, all things considered. On the second page, we have an upgrade to Piscary, which is pretty cool, as well as a fried frozen chicken. This is a new epic accessory, which I think is pretty funny. Singed Powder, which is a drop seemingly from the Fireproof Witches. the Scorched Crab Stick, which is once again a new item, the Scuttler Shell, which allows you to upgrade the Hermit Crab to Mythic Rarity, the Burnt Text, which is a drop, by the way, from Ragnarok, that level 47 creature that I saw before. This is a pet item that allows you to get 5 double hook chance, but reduces your fishing speed by 25%. And then last, in terms of the drops from Ragnarok, we have the Chain of the End Times. This allows you to upgrade Charm by 1 to level 6, which is pretty cool. We also have the Brimstone Handle, another new item that I kind of want to go over. I can hold it out right now. This is another drop, by the way, from Ragnarok. I was wrong before when I said it was the last one. This allows you to upgrade the Soul Whip into the Flaming Flay, as you can see here, which I think is pretty neat. You can also use the Braided Griffin Feather as well as the Hotspot Water Orb and also the Lava Water Orb in order to craft this item. It's a pretty nice bump. It's just nothing too crazy, all things considered. The ferocity is pretty nice. You also heal for every enemy hit, which I think is pretty cool. For the last few items on our list here, we have the Rusty Coin, the Busted Belt Buckle, which we already went over, as well as the Old Leather Boot, Moby Duck, which boosts your fishing wisdom for 60 minutes. Keep this item in your inventory to increase the bonus up to 30 fishing wisdom, at which point the item evolves. There's the Collector's Edition, which consumes to gain 30 fishing wisdom for 60 minutes, and when you consume it, it grants you a permanent 1 fishing wisdom. You may consume one of these, so keep that in mind. That's kind of the upgrade path there. There's the Hotspot Water Orb, the Hotspot Radar, which allows you to see fishing hotspots, which I think is pretty cool. There's the Cat Flower, which is there for obvious reasons, and the general upgrade line here, the Challenging Rod, the Rod of Champions, Rod of Legends, and then Rod of the Sea. Lastly, but certainly not least, we have the upgraded Hermit Crab at Mythic Rarity. It gives you defense, fishing speed, sea creature chance, and has 4 perks. Comfort Zone, which grants you fishing speed for 30 seconds upon catching treasure. Seafloor Scalper, which makes treasure catches more likely to be great or outstanding. Crab Rave, which grants you treasure chance for each player with a Hermit Crab pet within 30 blocks, up to 5 players. And Hotspot Hazard, which increases the chance of catching hotspot sea creatures by a certain percentage. As well as that, there's also 5 fairy souls on this little island. I will go over the locations as soon as I can in a separate video, and the main reason I don't want to put it in this video is I don't want players years down the line having to resort to going back to this video when they can just have a little dedicated one later on today. Overall, if you want my view about this update, I actually think it looks really solid. A lot of really incredible additions that will make fishing a lot more enjoyable for the early game and end game players alike. The gameplay loop seems relatively simple. If you want to interact with the Bayou, what you're basically going to do is farm for a bunch of junk, and you also interact with the hotspots in the hub, in the Crimson Isle, and in the Bayou to get all of the new sea creatures, a bunch of their new items, and it generally makes fishing a lot more interesting in the long run. Also, I think it's going to be cool to continue to upgrade our ship, and I imagine that the admins will be adding new islands over and over again to make more fishing content and more things for the players to do regarding the ship and everything like that. I would love to hear what you guys think about this update down below. I know it was a pretty big one, so make sure you hop in game if you can to both earn your alpha checkbook, which you need to do in order to get the new memento, which I think looks pretty neat, and as well, you might want to just test out some of these additions and see if they work properly. Once again, would love to hear what you guys think in the description and comments below. I feel like this is a very big update that has a lot of potential long term, and I know I was wrong about the foraging stuff, and I do apologize for that. I do have to pay out some people for that, which is kind of unlucky, but you know how it is around here. Sometimes you get things right, and sometimes you get things wrong. At the end of the day, though, my name's Derailious. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end. I'll have the video with the Fairy Souls out later today, and look to the future, fellas. I'll see you then.